guys, it is Swiggy Unicorns back again with a new video, and today I'm going to be doing a all about my piercings video. And if you don't know, I have 8 piercings in total, 5 on this ear and 3 on this ear. So I'm just going to be talking about all my piercings, rating them on a scale of 1 to 10, my experience, and how to convince your parents. So let's get started. So here is my first lobe piercing. I got it pierced when I was a baby, around 8 months old I believe. And I got it done at a jewelry shop that my mom took me to, and I was crying. Obviously, when you're a baby, you're gonna cry when you get needles or an ear piercing or whatever. So the thing is, because I was crying and moving a lot, my ear piercing, my first one, got pierced way too high up, so there's not any room for me to get another lobe piercing because of that. That's just my first lobe piercing, and because I got it done as a baby and it hurt a lot, I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 10. And the earrings are from the thrift store, if you're wondering. So on to my second ear piercing. I just have a cross as my earring for it. I'm pretty sure I got it at Forever 21, I'm pretty sure. So with this piercing, I got it done on my 12th birthday. And that's why my mom let me get it, because it was on my birthday. So she was like, okay, this is just a birthday gift for you. So I was super happy when I got that done. I got it done at Claire's with a gun. Very unsafe. I did it, but I recommend you to not do it, just because guns are just unsafe. But I got it done, and I'm gonna have to rate this a 1 out of 10, just because like I felt a little sting, but like it didn't hurt. I have such a low pain tolerance, like you'd be surprised how I rate my other ear piercings. Like it's just crazy how I can tolerate the pain. So on to my third ear piercing. I have a very little stud. I don't even know if you could see it, but I got it done on my 13th birthday. My mom allowed me to get it done, and we went to the mall, and I go to Claire's, and they're like, we cannot pierce it because there's not enough room to pierce for your third ear piercing. And I was like, oh. So we go to another store, and then they pierced it fine, and it was perfectly fine. And because it was near the cartilage part of my ear, like the cartilage skin of my ear, it did like hurt a little bit more. I felt a little pain, and it kept on going for like an hour or so, and it was just a little bit painful than the last 2 piercings. So I would rate that a 3 out of 10. It hurt, but yeah, it just hurt. So this piercing is always asked about at my school. Like a lot of people always ask me, like, did this piercing hurt? Like, what was your experience and all that stuff? It was basically the helix or cartilage piercing, whatever you want to call it. I have a horseshoe earring for that, and if you don't know what a horseshoe is, that's what it is. It's the shape of a horseshoe earring. So basically my experience with it is I got it done at a tattoo shop where they use a needle, which is great because using a needle you don't feel anything, which is why I did not feel anything when I got my helix done, and I really like it. The process of me getting it done, it did not hurt, and I thought it would be the most painful piercing I'd ever get, but I did not feel a thing, which is so surprising to me because I looked at a lot of YouTube videos, and a lot of people who got their cartilage done said it hurt, but didn't hurt for me. So if I had to rate that piercing, I would give it a 1 out of 10. And the cartilage is so hard to take care of after you get it pierced because you always have to clean it every day, and you cannot sleep on it because you don't want to put pressure to that side of the ear or it'll get infected. So if I had to rate my cartilage, again, I would give it a 1 out of 10. Favorite piercing, the most grossest piercing ever according to all my friends and everyone that has seen this piercing, is the Tragus piercing, which is this piercing right over here on this side of the ear. A lot of people find it gross to look at, which I don't, you know, I mean, when I first saw this piercing, I was like, there was no way in hell I'm ever gonna get this piercing. Like, this is the craziest thing I'd ever do to myself. And here I am, like 3 years later, I got the piercing. So basically, I went to the same tattoo shop as I went for my cartilage, and I got my helix, not my helix, my tragus done. And again, I don't know what is wrong with me. I did not feel a pain, which is so surprising to me because out of all my ear piercings, I thought the tragus would hurt the most, especially because this is the thickest part of your ear, as you could feel like your tragus part. So thick in like the ear. I went to 2 piercing shops. So the first one I went to, the lady was like, oh, your tragus is too small. And I was like, okay, great. So I went to another piercing store, and they're like, okay, we could pierce it, and they pierced it, which was perfectly, you know, great. Like the aftermath of taking care of the tragus was pain. I had such a horror story with my tragus. Basically, it got infected. Like I had a bump around it, and it was the worst time of my life. Taking care of it and getting rid of the bump was terrible for me, and it healed obviously, but just taking care of your tragus was a pain. Like, I could not listen to music, like I could not put my headphones in. I literally like could not listen to music in my right side of my ear. But that was just my experience with my tragus. So piercings I'd like to get in the future is a conch piercing, which I will put a picture right here. Also, I'd like to get a triple forward helix piercing, or maybe just one. I'd like to get triple though, but I'm just trying to balance this side of the ear since it only has 3 piercings and this one has 5. So I'm trying to balance this one, and once I get this ear done, I'm pretty much done with my piercings. I feel like the conch piercing would be the icing on the cake with all my piercings. I'd really want to get a conch. Okay, so now I'm going to be telling you guys how to convince your parents into getting an ear piercing. I don't know if this works for all parents, but this is what I did. Hopefully it works for you guys, and yeah. So first thing you need to do, research on this piercing. Research if you want to get this piercing, research everything about it, like what this piercing is, where it's located, and always find the store where you want to get it pierced. Present them with information about the piercing and where you want to get it done. Ask people about their experience with the piercing you want. So if you have a friend or someone you know who has the piercing that you want, ask them how it was and everything, so then you know what to expect with that piercing. This applies to literally everything. Always wait for the time is right. You don't want to ask your parents when they're in a bad mood, because they're obviously gonna say no. Wait till they're happy, they're in a good mood, so they'll say yes. And the best time to ask is when your birthday is coming near, because that is a great opportunity to remind your parents, like, hey, I want this as a birthday gift, because they would probably say yes, because like if your birthday's coming and you want this, and they'll be like, okay, sure. Just create an agreement. So basically what you need to do is whatever your parents want you to do. So what if they're like, oh, do chores or get all 90s on your report card, and they'll give you a piercing. So you need to meet in the middle, agree with something so you can work for it, you know? If you get all high grades, they'll be like, here's your reward, a piercing. That's how I did some of my piercings. I always ask near my birthday, or if it wasn't near my birthday, I would always make it up to them. If all things fails, this has got to be your last resort, is to just pay for it. Because honestly, it's all on you now. It's not like you're asking them to pay and sign the forms. All you want them to do is just sign the forms. So honestly, just pay for it. And because they're not going to pay for it, they're going to think this is on you. So whatever happens, it's on you. So be responsible for it. You could pay for it, because that's just a last thing you can do if none of these things work out. So that is all about my piercings video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you have any questions, just say in the comments below. Anything about piercings in general, then just leave one in the comments below, and hopefully I'll reply. So I'll see you guys next time on my next video. Bye!